everybody, it is Monday, February 11th, and I just finished the audiobook for City of Brass. I need to have super extendo arms. So as I mentioned last week, this is my second read through. I just wanted to go through it again before I jumped into the Kingdom of Copper, just because there's a lot of world building and a lot of stuff that I just was kind of fuzzy on it, and I wanted it all fresh when I went into the second book. But yeah, my impressions kind of remain the same with this, is that it has some pacing issues, but overall, especially when you get to the end and all of the pieces come together, I really am super excited about what direction this story's going in, and I'm gonna have to jump into the second one immediately. Like, that's happening this week for sure. Also definitely happening this week, in fact I'm about to start reading it right now, is this beautiful boy. Look how shiny. This is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is the latest in her Grisha-verse series of books. And I have some mixed feelings about the Grisha-verse, because I really didn't like the original Grisha trilogy. I felt it was just very tropey, and a lot of the characters got shortchanged, and I just wasn't a huge fan. But her Six of Crows duology, so good. This, however, I'm really nervous about, because I want it to be good. I really want it to be good, but I'm seeing some things online. Like, I haven't watched any reviews or anything like that, but I'm getting a feeling from the community as a whole that this is not exactly what people wanted. So this book follows Nikolai, who is a character from the Grisha trilogy, and is one of those that I kind of feel is shortchanged in that trilogy. And if you're not familiar with the Grisha-verse, it is a Russian-inspired fantasy world in which there are people who have kind of powers to manipulate very specific things, and they're known as the Grisha. And that's kind of like the only thing that I can say without getting into some pretty deep spoilers for this universe as a whole and all of the books that came before this. So this may be another one of those where I just kind of have to give you my feelings without actually going into a whole lot of details. So I'm just about to start this one. I'm going to read it a little bit before I go to bed, and I'm very nervous. I'm cautiously going into this one, trying to keep those expectations low. I've seen just enough to make me really scared to go into this one. I'm really it should be called King of Scares for me right now, because I'm not ready. Hey everybody, we skipped Tuesday again this week. It's just been crazy at work, and Tuesdays are our busiest days, and just been working late. And yeah, didn't update you guys yesterday, but it's Wednesday now, so I'll update you now. I am about 150 pages into King of Scars. I just finished chapter 8, and something very sad happened in chapter 8, and I can't talk about it because it has to do with other books. This is the hardest thing about this book, is I can't talk to you at all about it without spoiling everything from the other books. This one is so intertwined, not only in the Grisha trilogy, which I figured because a lot of the characters come from the Grisha trilogy, but also the Six of Crows duology, because, well, I guess some of the characters come from that. I don't know why that was a shocker to me that there would be spoilers in here for that. But it bothers me because as much as I'm enjoying the way that these books are progressing, I can't recommend anybody start anywhere but the Grisha trilogy. You have to start at the Grisha trilogy to get the full story, to get the full impact, and that trilogy is so problematic. But I'm really enjoying this one so far. It's heavy on the political intrigue, which again is probably something I should have assumed, and I'm digging it. I think it's really done well. I'm still really nervous just in general to see how this book advances, and what's going to be the ultimate outcome, because I could see there's so many things that could be done just amazing in this, and there's so many things that I feel like I would just hate, and I could see it going both ways based on what I've been given so far in this. I don't know. This is a struggle to talk about, but I don't know. We got 350 more pages to get through before we're done with it, so hopefully those will all be great, and I'll love it, and it'll be a good time for all. Okay, also I started the audiobook for Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, and they're kind of like a collection of not really essays but memories, like little short snippets of things that she has done or just funny stories that she wants to tell, but they're all surrounding her struggles with mental health because she suffers from depression and anxiety and a whole slew of other stuff that she lists in great detail in the book. But it's all approached in a very humorous way, and she's very comedic in her writing and narrates the audiobook, and there's a lot of like personality that she gives to that, and it's just been a really enjoyable book to go through. It's also like really amazing to me the balance that she struck because it is such a hard topic to discuss, and one that she does go into a great detail, even things like self-harm and times where she's been driven to that point because of her mental illnesses. And it has a good balance of touching on those really harder topics to address, and also just seeing the humor in everything, that the ways that her brain perceives things and the way that she interacts with people and the way that people like react to her. Like there's a lot of humor to be found in that. It's mostly like a humorous book, but it's also one that constantly, even through like the humorous sections, you're made very aware of the fact that there are people who have these things that they're living with every day, and like not like a tiny, insignificant percentage of people too. Like we all know people who have um, these kind of struggles that they're going through, and how it's so like vastly complicated, and how everybody reacts differently and deals with it differently, and how like different treatments and medications and stuff can have completely like widely differing effects on them, and it's such a complicated thing to tackle. And so far, like through this, she's done it just absolutely beautifully, because it is such an absurd, like over the top comedy representation of mental health. But she never really completely loses that grounded, like, this is still something that you need to be aware of. This is something that I am constantly aware of, and that, even though I'm kind of just sharing my funny stories about how I overreact in these times, or have these instances where people look at me like I'm crazy, um, she also touches on the times where it's just like she's trapped within herself for long periods of time, can't get out of bed, or is so out of sorts, that she causes harm to herself, like pulls out hair and stuff like that. I mean, it's it's such a heavy book, and the more I think about it as I'm like discussing it now, I realize just how heavy it is. But when you're listening to it, it's just such an enjoyable and light and funny thing that you're experiencing. So it's one of those that in the moment it's really fun and enjoyable, and the more you think about it, the more you really like learn from the stories that she's telling you, and just how complicated mental health is. And one thing that I really like about what she's expressed in this is that she kind of realized that because she has this capacity for like severe like depression and like harmful emotions, she also brought it upon herself to have like extreme cases of really joyful emotions. She wanted to get herself to be furiously happy. Like she strived to embrace the fact that because she is such an emotional person and such at her emotions whim, then why is it always the negative emotions that seem to take over her life? When she like approaches it in a way that becomes a positive rather than a negative, like it's a positive that her brain can get overly excited and overly stimulated by little things. Like that's something that's fun and unique to her, and I think that that's a really positive outlook on mental health. But I'm about halfway through that one, and I'm enjoying it greatly. Oh, hey everybody, I just finished my tax return. So I have fulfilled my adult quota for the month. I'm good. And while I was finishing that up, I listened to the very last bit of Furiously Happy, and it made me furiously happy. I was really like just gleeful the entire time. Especially, I think it's called The Big Quiz is the chapter that made me laugh out loud so hard. I was actually listening to that one while I was driving home, and it got to the point where I was like, do I need to pull over just so I can collect myself? It was probably the hardest I've laughed in a long time. I can't think of anything that's made me laugh quite that much. But man, just it was great. But yeah, I really liked that book. Like I want a copy of it to love and cherish. Um, but I'm not buying books right now, so that's unfortunate. Do you want to hold hands? Ow. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. No hand holding. Got it. Got the message. Do you want to hold Ow! Hey, you got yourself into this mess, sir. This was you. You did this. Hey everybody. It's Sunday. I know. I suck. So basically, at the end of the work week, I had a major deadline at work, and it was like everybody in the office had to like batten down the hatches and just work nonstop to get everything done. And yeah, so like Thursday and Friday, I did not read anything. I was just working nonstop, and by the time I was done Friday night, I had just checked out so hard, and so I sat and watched Marvel movies because that seemed like the only thing that my brain could process at that moment. Yesterday, however, I read quite a bit. I just was still like mentally like exhausted and I didn't want to vlog. But now it is Sunday and I need to edit this vlog and get it uploaded. So I'm going to talk about what I did read yesterday and today and get this bad boy out. So I actually just finished King of Scars, and it had a good cliffhanger that I wasn't sure it was gonna do, but it went for it, and I'm happy for it. I'm excited for where the story's going. I think my biggest like weird thing about this book is that there's like a plot and a B plot, and they have almost nothing to do with each other. It's almost like reading two books simultaneously and just flipping back and forth. There's very little, if any, overlap between like the two main plot lines in this story, and it was jarring at times because I was so like invested in what was going on in one story, and then I felt like I had to stop reading it and just pick up a different book and read a chapter out of it before I was allowed to proceed in the story that I just got super invested in. And it was like that constant back and forth, and it was kind of a weird choice. But yeah, I would rank this right now definitely like above Grisha Trilogy easily. But still, I would say pretty low compared to the other one, the Six of Crows duology. Ultimately, I felt like this book was just kind of a big build up to a big reveal at the end, and I think it took a long time to get there, and by the time it got there, I wasn't as jazzed as I thought I was going to be. And then it just meandered for so long that when it actually got time to reveal anything at the end, I was just over it, which is annoying. I felt like it took too long to get to the big twist at the end. One thing that I really appreciate about this is it deep dives into some characters from the Grisha trilogy that I felt did not get proper respect, like did not get their time in the limelight, did not get their character arcs developed in the way that I would have liked to have seen them developed. This one kind of builds off a little bit more on some of those characters that I felt like were misserved in that trilogy. So anyway, that's all for that one. I also read a couple of graphic novels. I read Paper Girls. I read the first volume of that. That is a science fiction, like, time travel story in which there's a group of paper girls, but they're like, they group up together to run their route on Halloween because people tend to stay out all night, and there's like a specific neighborhood that they go to that they had, like, they were getting harassed and things like that, so they like coupled up and stuff went down, and now they're dealing with all of this like weird disappearances and sci-fi nonsense and time travel. It intrigued me, but I wasn't like, oh yes, I have to read more. It was kind of just like, oh well, this could be interesting, but there wasn't really enough in that first volume to hook me. So I think I will eventually pick it back up. It is by the same author that does the Saga graphic novel series, and I really like Saga. And then I read, what is the other one I read? The Wicked and the Divine. I read the first volume of that, and this one is every like 90 years, humans that have been taken over by these gods have 2 years to live out, and they just kind of do stuff in that 2 years. It's kind of, I mean, in this, they're just like performers, like they're celebrities. I'm kind of curious about what on earth could be like the reasoning for this. Why every 90 years does a group of like 12 gods decide to inhabit the bodies of humans for 2 years, and then those humans die, and then the gods just go back into their cycle? Like, what's the purpose of that? Is that just to like feed their egos? Is that the only reason? I mean, I guess I could buy that. It's a weird premise. I'm intrigued by this one a lot more than Paper Girls. The art style is gorgeous. Like, I really like, the art style was really appealing to me. I don't know. I like to experiment with graphic novels every now and again, and I just, checked out a whole bunch from Hoopla, and they were all about to expire, and I was like, well, let's read a couple of these. So those I read. And then I finally started The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, and oh my gosh, I am so hype for this book. I had no idea when I started it. There's a 5-year time jump between the first book and the second book. There's so much that they just do. And parts of me are like, man, I wish I had more like of that, but other parts of me are just like, no, I'm so, like, I wanted the story to go in that direction, and the story is like, not only are we going in that direction, but we already went in that direction, and here's the aftermath, and it's just, it's beautiful. Like, I love all of the things that are happening. They're all terrible things, by the way. Everything is awful. All of the characters are miserable, but it's just gorgeous, and I love it, and I can't wait to continue with this series and see all of these characters, like, their paths like recross and everybody kind of come back together, and I need to finish this book. Anyway, I think that gets you all caught up. So I have a sleeping cat on my lap that I am about to have to remove, sadly, because I gotta actually go and edit this thing. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next vlog.